Morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a super great day. And I just want to say a second to anybody who's watching that is a veteran or who might know a veteran. Make sure that we all take a little bit of time to give our thanks for all the service that our veterans have done today. So with that being said, find our breaths and ground into our mat and into our day. So rock the sit bones from side to side. Lift up through the center of the chest, and then make sure you have a smile on your face to begin your practice. And then when you're ready, close the eyes. And you're not doing anything fancy right away with the breath. You're just noticing, starting to become aware of how you feel and where you've entered the day at. We'll just be with this feeling for a few moments. You can keep the hands on the thighs if that feels okay, or you can bring the hands together in front of the heart. Keep the eyes closed. Let's take our 3 cleansing breaths to begin our practice together. When you're ready, take a big, deep inhale through the nose. Pause at the top, and then slowly sigh all of the air out of the mouth. And then you'll pause at the bottom of the exhale, and then slowly start to inhale again. Find that pause at the top, and then as you sigh the breath out, make the breath sound a ha. Make it sound like you're saying ha as you breathe out. Find that pause at the bottom. We'll do that one last time all together. Big, deep inhale, and then exhale out. And then seal the lips. I want you to bring all of your awareness to your breath that's coming in and out of the nose, your conscious breath. And as you start to breathe deeply here, quiet the mind. So all of the awareness can just focus on the breath. There's nothing you need to think about. Let's see if you can dedicate this time to your practice on the mat. And then with your conscious breath here, you're going to recline down onto your mat. So go ahead and just walk the back down so that the back side of the body is all the way down. Tuck the chin slightly so the back of the neck is long. Feet are as wide as the mat, and I want you to let the knees fall in towards one another. Hands can rest comfortably on the belly or right alongside the body. And then you're still with that conscious breath here. Feel the belly. If the hands are on the belly, feel the hands just feel the belly lift the hands with that breath in. And then just notice the belly fall on the exhale. And take a few more breaths. I want you to stay with this practice. So when I was thinking about the practice this week, I came across the idea in yoga of asteya, and there's different principles in yoga that really help to make it more than just a physical practice. It really unites the mind and the body. And so this idea of asteya is non-stealing. And in our practice of daily life, we understand that non-stealing is probably not taking things that don't belong to us. But think of it in a bigger sense. Think of people who take other people's time, maybe who steal other people's energy. Maybe there are people that steal your joy from not being kind. So there's all these other ways that this non-stealing principle can come into our practice. So think of this on the mat. Where do you overreach? Where do you steal from your practice? Do you try and move through a pose that maybe the body isn't really ready for? Or can you dial it down? And then the same thing, are you stealing from your practice by not exerting your energy? Are you not giving your full potential? So just think about these things as we move through our practice today. And I want you to now start to walk the feet together and let the knees come out wide. And then with the hands still on the belly, we'll take 3 breaths. I just want you to let this idea of non-stealing, asteya, kind of seep in. Where can you apply this to your practice on the mat? And then maybe think about it off the mat in your daily life. Some of those areas that I mentioned, maybe you think of something else. So we'll take 2 more breaths. And just feel a lift through the center of the heart. Then we'll extend the hands up overhead, extend the feet wide, interlace the hands, and just stretch the body. Lift through the center of the chest. And we're going to bring the knees up, roll over onto our right side. And then you're going to press all the way up, come all the way over into table pose. So again, if the knees are a little bit challenged, then I would roll the mat over. That gives you a little bit more extra padding. Maybe put a blanket underneath. But we're just going to be here for a moment to find our foundation. So I've been having the pinkies as wide as the mat. Spread the fingers nice and wide so that the palms are wide and that you can feel the knuckles rooting down into your mat. And then rotate that weight in between the pointer finger and thumb. And then belly button comes in towards the spine. Step 1 foot back at a time into plank pose. So your options here, you don't always have to come into plank pose. You can always drop the knees and find table. The palms are still pressing into the floor, so you have that stability with the arms and through the shoulders, and the core is engaged. So you can always move in between table and plank pose. So we'll take a big breath in wherever you want to be here. And then the next exhale is going to bring us into downward facing dog. Press the mat down and forward so that the heart comes closer to the front of the thighs. I like to walk the toes in just slightly, so then that way it shortens my stance. You can always keep that long stance, but then soften the heels closer towards the floor. And then can you lift the tailbone a little bit higher? Gaze is at the toes, the knees. Traditionally, it's at the navel, but I like to just use my toes as my gaze. And we'll take another breath here to settle into the pose. And stay with this breath. Inhale to come up high onto the tippy toes. Exhale and bend the knees all the way. Exhale. At the bottom of the exhale, you're going to step to the top of the mat. Come into a forward fold right away. Grab onto opposite elbows. You can bend the knees and then roll the weight into the toes. I like to tuck the chin so then that way I take any weight out of the neck and shoulders. And then maybe sway from side to side if that feels good. You can stay in stillness. Just take a couple of breaths here for yourself. And then we'll release the hands all the way to the floor. Inhale, find your flat back so the chin is slightly tucked. Weight rolls into the toes, gazes down towards the floor. Exhale to forward fold. Bend the knees. Inhale to rise. Sweep the arms all the way up. Palms are going to touch, and I want you to make it into a little back bend. So bring the hands back. Press the hips forward. Take a big, deep breath in to lift through the chest. And then exhale, hands come to the heart. Close the eyes. Feel the feet grounding into the floor. Grow tall through the body. Both legs are engaged. One more full round of breath. And then we'll inhale, sweep the arms out and up, palms touch. Exhale, lead with the heart, dive all the way down over the thighs. Inhale, flat back, reach the heart forward. Exhale to forward fold. You'll bend the knees, plant your palms, step back into plank or table pose. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Lift the tailbone on your next exhale and then pause for downward facing dog. Take a full round of breath here. On your inhale, right leg is going to lift all the way up. Look forward. Plant the foot between the palms. So you want to inch it forward and then soften the shoulders down the back. So sometimes we still creep the shoulder blades up towards the back of the head. Just see if you can find space for the neck. And so even though this is a pretty strong pose here, the left leg is nice and firm. Feel the ball of the right foot pressing down into the floor. And then I want you to feel the hips here. See if you can just slightly pull that right hip back, making a little bit of space in that hip crease. And then we'll take another breath in, really strong, long body here. And then the exhale is going to bring the left knee down to the floor. You roll the mat, go ahead and do so. And then walk the foot forward just a little bit, drive into the ball of that right foot. And then you can bring the hands to the knee to come up, or you can bring the arms all the way up with the core. Sink down into that front knee, finding your low lunge. You'll take a full cycle of breath in and a full breath out. So you want to let the tailbone settle here. Lift the center of the chest towards the chin. Take one more round of breath. I want you to bring the hands down to the floor. Walk the right foot forward a little bit, and then you're going to flip onto the heel and just come back into a half split. So when you do this, I like to drive the right heel down into the floor and press the ball of the right foot forward. And then at the same time, think about the inner right thigh rotating down to your mat. So again, a little bit of space for that right hip crease. And then you can choose to stay here, make sure the back of the neck is long, or maybe you hinge forward. So find that space, take a full round of breath to find a place that feels comfortable to you, and then settle. See if you can stop gripping somewhere. Notice the body here. Really, really good, everybody. Sure, this is a tight one for the hamstring and the hips, maybe even for the knees. So I want you to press the ball of the right foot down, tuck the left toes under. You're going to press the fingertips back into the earth, find that high lunge or that low lunge, runner's lunge once again. Left leg is nice and firm. So engage the core here, make any adjustments that you need to. Left leg stays firm. So you can come up using that right knee or engage the core, press into both feet, and lift the torso in one inhale. So once you get all the way up, you'll sink into that front knee. For me, this is really tight in the front of my left hip. So if you want, you can always step that back foot forward, and that'll shorten the stance. Still keep that bend in the front knee. If you want a little bit more space in the front of the left hip, then that's when you're going to step it back. And then arms can be at the hips or right alongside the ears. And then you'll soften here. I want you to release through the tailbone. And then just take a moment here. So a lot of people having low back problems right now. Probably a few of the clients that I've been teaching with all of them have had low back issues, sciatic nerve pain. So we want to really protect the low back. Use the core here, but also engaging and staying in a pose for a little bit is going to help protect those muscles. It's going to help strengthen through the body. So we'll take one more breath. And then bring the hands all the way back down to the floor. You're going to ground the palms, press into the ball of the back foot so you can engage the core, and then inhale to sweep the right leg up, find a three-legged dog. Maybe open up the hip and bend the knee. You can the torso to the right side of the mat. Feel the heart lifting towards the ceiling. Take another breath wherever you want to be. And then inhale to re-straighten the leg and square the hips. Right heel as far back as possible. Make sure to rotate the inside of the right thigh backwards, just like we did before. I want you to look forward now. Bring the right knee to the right wrist, and you'll come into a pigeon pose. So most of you have been practicing with me long enough that, you know, if this doesn't work for you, then flip over onto your back, find that figure 4 position. And then a couple of options here. I want you to try and square the hips. So if you tend to feel like you're sliding onto that right hip more, that's where a prop would come in handy. So putting a pillow or a blanket underneath that right hip to help square the hips back straight. And then your options are to stay here. If you pause here for a moment, for me, it takes a second, but you can start to feel the very low part of the back releasing. So if this feels good, go ahead and stay here. And then you can always hinge forward, come down onto the forearms. If that feels okay, come down onto a block or another prop. And then I want you to try and think about keeping the ears in line with the shoulders. So then that way you don't put a whole bunch of weight on the cervical vertebrae in the neck. And then where can you release? So notice this is an area here where that non-stealing can play into your practice. Are you super tight? Do you need to flip over and do this pose on your back? Or can you maybe breathe deeper into the pose and let the body release what it's resisting? So just take a couple of breaths here. Deep breaths, stay connected to your practice. I want you to stay connected to this moment. So as we release into our hips, sometimes it can make the mind wander back into the past or project into the future. So just take a few moments here, breathe deeply, feel the body connected to the floor, connected to the surface that you're practicing in. And then we'll take this last breath here in silence. So if that hamstring and hip are talking to you, let's start to move. I'm going to tuck the left toes under. Hands are going to come right underneath my shoulders. I'm going to pause for a moment just so I can let the low back release. I'm not tweaking the low back. And then your options are to press up, come back into that 3-legged dog. You can always come back into table, roll out the right hip, or just come right back into downward facing dog. So do something that feels good to you. Make sure you find your alignment and then be really gentle to that right hip. Maybe roll out the ankle as well. And then find yourself either back in table pose or back in downward facing dog, whatever is calling to you today in your practice. And then find a moment here to pause, lift the sit bones up nice and high, mat presses forward. Take a full round of breath. And then let's go ahead and inhale, lift up onto the tippy toes, bend the knees, look forward, and either step or hop to the front of the mat. I've also been doing this little, I don't know what it is, kind of like a little gallop to the top of the mat, so it's not just a step. So you can try that too. So if you want to watch, I'm like, I don't know, can try it at least. And then inhale, come up halfway, find your flat back. Remember to roll the weight into the toes. And then exhale, forward fold. Put a little bend in those knees. Inhale, rise all the way up. Feel the palms touch. Little back bend here. Press the hips forward. And then exhale, hands are going to come down to the heart. Eyes are closed. Take a full cycle of breath here. Just notice maybe any subtle changes in the body. I want you to feel the heart lifting into the thumbs. This connectedness to the surface that you are practicing on. So feel the feet rooting down. Feel gratitude for everything around you. You don't even have to open the eyes, but I just want you to feel that feeling of your surroundings. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, you can keep the eyes closed or blink the eyes open. We'll inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Palms touch, back bend here. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale, find your flat back, reach the heart forward. Exhale to forward fold, bend the knees, either step back into table or to your plank pose. Pause for your breath. Take a big, deep breath in, find your foundation, and then lift the hips, downward facing dog. Full cycle of breath here. Make any adjustments that you need to. Connect back with your breath. Engage both legs. One more full round. And then the next inhale, left leg is going to lift. You can open it up if you want to roll out the ankle or the knee. And then we'll re-straighten that leg and look forward. I want you to help the foot between the palms. You'll inch it forward. Sink down into the left knee. Stay on the ball of the right foot. Make sure that the right leg stays firm. And again, I always come up onto my fingertips just to make space for the body. Roll the shoulder blades down the back. Make a little bit of space for this left hip crease. So if you can make a tiny bit more space by pulling the left hip back, but still staying bent into that left knee. We'll take another big breath in to grow nice and long. And then exhale, right knee is going to come down to the floor. So you can keep the toes tucked or untucked, whatever gives you more stability. And then we're coming all the way up. So either bring the hands to that left knee for help or engage the core, rise all the way up. Sink down into the left knee. And you can walk that left foot forward to sink down into the knee if you want more space for the front of the right hip. Make any adjustments here. Shoulders and hips both point forward. And then still here, left hip a little bit back. And then once you find that sweet spot to settle, take your breaths here. Feel the pinkies rotating in, shoulder blades moving down the back. Lift the belly button towards the chin and take another round. And then I want you to look down with the eyes, bring the hands to follow all the way down to the floor. Start to inch that left foot forward and then flip the toes to come onto the heel and you'll straighten through the leg. And then so I want you to press the ball of the left foot forward, but then sometimes that might bring the hips out of alignment. So press the right hip into center, pull that left hip back so that the left leg is nice and firm. And then you'll rotate the inseam of that left thigh down to the floor. And then reach the heart forward, wherever you want to be here. See if you can keep the ears in line with the shoulders so we're not dumping the weight into that cervical vertebrae here. But you can still reach the heart towards the toes. You can still start to hinge forward to get a little bit more stretch in that left hamstring. You can take another round of breath here. And when you're ready, let's start to walk the hands forward, bend back into the left knee, press the ball of the left foot down into the floor. And then we're going to come back up onto the fingertips. Right toes are tucked, right knee comes off the floor. Reach the heart forward, core is engaged. Really firm pose here. Both feet are grounding into the floor evenly. Both legs are engaged at the same amount. And then when you're ready, you're going to rise up. Either use the knee or come all the way up with the arms. Sink down into the left knee. Lift the heart up. Soften the shoulders. I want you to feel that left hip start to pull back. Keep the right leg firm. Inhale to lift the fingertips up and then feel the shoulder blades move down the back. And take a few breaths here. Take one more cycle of breath. Maybe sink a little bit deeper into that left knee. And then bring the hands all the way down to the floor. Ground the palms, engage the core, and then you're going to press into the palms, sweep that left leg up and back. You can open up the hip if that feels good. Keep the gaze down. Maybe start to twist and turn and look underneath that left armpit as you shine the torso and the heart up to the ceiling. Take another breath, maybe smile. And then let's inhale to re-straighten the legs, square the hips, look forward. That left knee now is going to come to the left wrist. Swing the ankle towards the right wrist, little flex in the left foot. And then make any adjustments so that right leg is straight. So I mentioned before, if you start to fall onto that hip, this time it would be the left side. Go ahead and put a blanket or a pillow underneath that left hip to square the hips up a little bit more. I want you to find what feels good to you. You don't have to do the same thing on this side. If it feels good now to sit upright, go ahead and do that. You can come down to the floor. Wherever you are, don't let the head hang. Feel the heart leading here. Find softness somewhere in the body. And then bring your awareness to your breath. So when we get into the hips, again, that mind chatter starts talking a little bit louder. And so this is just our mind and body's way of distracting us. Sit very still, breathe deeply through any feelings of sensations. Of course, come out of it if you're feeling pain, but those sensations are different than any pain. So if you are just breathing through the sensations, you can settle the body. Always flip over onto your back if this is not working for you here. Just take a couple more breaths. Feel the shoulders softening. Maybe lift the heart a little bit more, or let the heart settle to the floor more wherever you are. And then we'll take these last couple of breaths in silence. And then when you're ready, let's go ahead and tuck the right toes under. Start to lift up to bring the palms underneath the shoulders. Ground into the palms. So you want to be very gentle here when you come up. You can come back into table pose, or you can come right back into downward facing dog. Lift the sit bones high. Maybe roll out that left hip, left ankle, and do whatever feels good. When you feel complete, I want you to bring the left foot down next to the right and downward facing dog. Just take a moment here to let the body settle and let all the benefits sink into the body. And we'll drop the knees down. You can either come into a child's pose. If the knees aren't working for you, then you can come onto your back. You can also come into a hero's pose. I'll be in a hero's pose. So we'll just take maybe 2 or 3 breaths here, settling and starting to shift our perspective. And keep that focus directed inward. Take one more full breath. And then find your seated position. Rock the sit bones from side to side. Lift up through the center of the chest. Pull the shoulder blades together behind the back. So the heart is what we're leading with here today. I want you to bring the hands together right in front of the heart. Keep the length of the spine, but just tuck the chin, bow the head. And then with this idea of asteya, of non-stealing, this principle, one of the principles of yoga, how can you bring that off the mat and into your life? And not in just the general sense, the obvious sense, but how can you make sure that you are not stealing someone else's time or energy, or maybe stealing energy from yourself. I want you to take a big, deep, full breath and a full breath out. Let's do that 2 more times. Big inhale through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. Find that ah sound on the exhale. One last time. Big inhale. And exhale. And then when you're ready, lift the chin. Smile. And then blink the eyes open. Namaste. Thanks, guys, for your practice today and for your time. I hope that you felt that I used your time wisely. And I hope that you really do take these ideas that we're learning on the mat, off the mat, into your everyday life. That's really what the practice of yoga is all about. How can you integrate it and use that throughout your day? So I hope to see you on Friday, 9 a.m. Let me know if you have any questions, and make sure you say thanks to someone out there that's helped serve and protect us. Have a really great day.